Hello there, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Lessons with Guitar Man. My name's Aaron, and I'll be your designated driver here today for this great song, Cold Frosty Morning. Now, this is the melody. I know there's a lot of versions out there that people play, but this is the one that I came up with, and hopefully you like it. Let's go ahead and dive right in there and see how this thing works. Cold Frosty Morning, you're going to notice, first of all, is in 2/4 time, so that means there's 2 beats every measure, and we're going to be in the key of A minor. Except for in the B part, we're going to switch to the key of A there for just a brief minute, or a mixolydian to be exact. So the first measure here, we're going to have a 2, followed by a 2, and then a 1. So, and you'll notice that's an A minor chord. And down, up, down, okay? And then the next note is going to be an open on the B string, or the second string. So, so if we were to count that out, it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. And the last 2 notes of the first measure are going to be 2 and a 2. And those are both going to be downs. So 2 and a 2. So that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. Or down, up, down, up, down, down. Moving on to the second measure now, we're going to have a 2, open, 1, 3. And again, that's 2, open, 1, 3. Down, up. All right, and the next 3 notes in the second measure are open on the high E string, followed by a 2/4. And that's going to be on the D string. The 2/4 is going to be a down, up, okay? And the last 3 notes are going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. That whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, and moving on to the third measure, you're going to see 4 16th notes followed by a quarter note. That's going to be open, 2, 4, 2. So we're going to do a little rock back and forth thing where we go open, 2, 4, 2, and then open. So we kind of start with an open and end with an open. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now moving on to the fourth measure, we're going to have an open, 2, open, 1, open, 2, open, 1, or down, up. The last 3 notes of that measure are going to be a 3, a 2 jumping down to the D string, and an open on the G string. And that's going to be 3, 2, open. And that whole measure together is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, now let's go ahead and play through the first 4 measures slowly and see what that sounds like. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. All right, good job. Now moving on to the 5th measure, we're going to repeat the first measure, so there's nothing new to learn there. And then on the 6th measure, we're going to do the same thing there on the first 5 notes of the 6th measure that we did in the second measure, but the last 2 notes are going to be a 5, 3, instead of a 2, 4 in the second measure. So the second measure, it's, in the 6th measure, it's, all right, so the 6th measure is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. moving on to the 7th measure here, we're going to have an open, 3, 1, 2, or down, up, down, up. So, all right. And the last 4 notes of the 7th measure are going to be open, 2, open, 2. Open, 2, open, 2. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And in time, it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. And the first ending, or the 8th measure, over the A minor chord there on the A section is going to be an open, hammer on 2. Now you're actually going to need to do this hammer with your ring finger, because after that we're going to do a where you hit 2 and 2, or part of this A minor chord, just these middle 2 notes at the same time. Okay, and that's going to be a down, up, up, down. And then the last 2 notes of the first ending are 2, open. And that whole measure together is going to sound like 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, now moving on to the 9th measure, or the 2nd ending of the A section, what we're going to have here is the exact same licks as the first ending, except we're not going to do the 2, open. We're just going to cut that off and have a rest in there. So nothing new to learn there. So the 5th through the 8th measure is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's go ahead and play through the whole A section now and see what that sounds like. So 1, 2, ready, and. So moving on to the B part in the 10th measure here, we're actually going to switch from the key of A minor to the key of A for the first 4 measures, or for you theory buffs out there, A mixolydian. We're going to have A major to G major are the chords. Okay. So the 10th measure is going to be 5, 5, and we're going to strum those together, which is part of this A chord here, and it's going to sound like so. And you'll notice those are all downstrokes. So you got down, 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 or 1, 2, 1, 2. And one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2. The 11th measure here, we're going to go 5, 7, 5, 3, open. 5, 7, 5, 3, open. And that's going to be down, up, down, up, down. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So with the 12th measure, the first 4 notes over the G chord are going to be open, 3, open, 2. Or down, up, down, up. All right. Or 1, 2, 1, 2. The next 4 notes of the 12th measure are going to be 3, 2, open, 2. Down, up, down, up. The 12th measure is going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. Or down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now moving on to the 13th measure, we're going to have 3, 2, open, 3, followed by an open on the high E on a downstroke. So 3, 2, open, 3, open. Down, up, down, up, down. All right, and that's going to sound like so. 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's go ahead and play from the 10th to the 13th measure, and that's going to sound like so. Now moving down to the 14th measure, from the 14th through the 15th measure, what you're going to see here are a series of double stops going from the A minor to the C to the D to the E. And what happens here over this song is but I've decided to do something a little different here and do double stops instead of just the single notes. I do, which really gives it an interesting little flavor. So the 14th measure is going to sound like so. And these are all going to be downstrokes, so down, down. So you got 2, 2, and they're both going to be 2 strums. So you're going to put your pointer finger on the second string and an open on the G below it, and it's going to be just kind of like over a C there. A minor, C, and then while keeping this finger down, you're going to go, which is going to be over the D chord, your ring finger on the 3rd fret and your middle finger on the 2nd fret, and then you lift them off with that still fretted, and it'll be down, up, down. And then the last double stop, you're going to move these 2 notes up to here, like so. All right, so that's going to sound like. And the last 2 notes of the 15th measure are going to be 5, 3. So the whole 15th measure is going to sound like, or. Now there's one of 2 ways you can do this. A lot of times, because I have small hands, I have a tendency to use my pinky finger a lot and grab the high E and roll this down and grab the high E and grab that A note down here on the 1st string at the 5th fret and go like so. Or you can do, if you have bigger hands or you like to use these 2 fingers, you can go and just roll that down. Either one will be just fine. So that whole 15th measure is going to sound like so. So the 16th through the 18th measures, we use the exact same licks as we used in the first A part, so there's nothing new to learn there. The only difference is I switch the first ending and second ending and use the second ending first and the first ending second, and in the A part I use the first ending first and the second ending second. But the licks are all exactly the same, so there's nothing new to learn there. The whole last 4 lines of the B section, or 14 to measure 17, are going to sound like so. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, now let's go ahead and play through the entire B section. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so let's go ahead and play through this song slowly one time, and that'll be a wrap on this song. So 1, 2, you know what to do. All right, well, that's a wrap on this tune. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you have any questions for me, feel free to send me an email in the description listed below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll be seeing you